Welcome to the Fireside channel. This is our series on business owner challenges. Today I am being joined by Rose Elcock of VHRS Solutions. Rose is an HR specialist, so she helps you to manage your team. And that doesn't just mean keep them in line, it means keep them happy, healthy, and productive. Rose, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really looking forward to this chat.
It's so lovely to be here, Tamryn. I really look forward to the conversation.
Me too. Let's start with, because I think HR is a very misunderstood role in business, right from small companies to big companies. So I would like to hear from you how you see HR and why it's something you chose to provide to your clients.
Yes, I agree with you. I think, and I had that particularly in South Africa when I started back in 2016, that HR was very much linked to admin and legal work. So, for example, you need to do a contract for an employee, or things are not going right with an employee, so now you need to follow labor legislation to know how to go about those things. And I found that while it is an integral part of the offering, it kind of reduces the function of HR to being very admin or legal. But then there's a lot about what I call the core of HR, which is very much the talent retention part of it, which is quite crucial and quite beautiful about HR. And yeah, that it takes a while, especially for SMEs, to understand that, wrap around their minds around that concept around HR. Because understandably so, when you're a small business, you obviously firstly develop all those departments that are going to make you money, right? And then there are other departments, the internal departments, and that you can consider finance and marketing, that they're the real needs that businesses face as they walk through their journey. And I think HR is really very much at the end. But what happens really is that what we find is that it's actually the founders that are doing the function of HR. So they only really become aware that they need it when they just realize, I don't have the time to continue doing contracts, doing recruitment. And so that's really when we get the call from founders to say, okay, I think I need HR.
Yeah, and I think, I've dealt with you for a while now, so I think from my experience, you focus on the important part of HR, because I think people are so used to hearing the words HR, we forget what they stand for. And it's human resources, which is, to be honest, is a term I'm not particularly fond of, because I don't like the thought of people being resources. But the word human is still in there, and people tend to forget that that's what this is all about. It's about dealing with people and making sure that everybody is happy.
Exactly. And there's a big drive of calling the department the people department, which I think it's a beautiful term. And yes, I think that when you walk the walk in the people department, the HR department, you firstly, it starts being reactive. So it's about solving problems for people, for managers, for the company. And then what happens is that once you manage to solve those problems, then there's room for promoting a good work environment and also being proactive about certain measures or things for the company in order to create good work cultures. So that is where the really exciting part of HR, the people department, takes place. So you have to walk the walk a little bit and make sure that, okay, the very first steps are covered to then really get onto a very beautiful way about going about HR and doing initiatives that are for the good of the organization.
Yeah, and I think it must be quite rewarding work when you get into that. Well, all of it is actually very rewarding work, because even the legal and that, it might not be as fun as the rest, but you're still helping a lot of people.
Yes, exactly. I'm a psychologist by profession, and for me, it's almost like it's ingrained in me, the fact that everything that we do has a connotation and with people, right? Like there's our actions always will have that knock-on effect that something is happening to someone, like a change, or when we do promotions, when we do performance management, and when we hire, you are impacting people's lives. So I think keeping that in mind, it's quite important to keep going, because it's draining as well. It's energy draining to be part of the people department. But when you see what you can do, and how you enable people in their careers, it is really beautiful.
Yeah, very fulfilling. Awesome,
yeah.
awesome role to have. So tell me, how did you end up in HR? How did you end up opening your own HR business?
So I studied psychology and back in Argentina. And in the last year, you have to decide to which direction you're going to go. And I did choose HR. So from very early on, I had that kind of, that academical background and just curiosity intellectually around what HR was about. And then I took a very left turn. I went to be a cabin crew for Emirates for 3 years. So I left Argentina, I went to live to Dubai, and I had that experience, which, like one thing is a little bit arbitrary, but at the same time, it links so well to, everything you do in your career. You kind of link it and see how everything was meant to be that way. With Emirates and being a cabin crew, I flew to a lot of places, met a lot of different cultures, and also really got a really good taste for what customer service is about, and being the one providing the customer service, right? And that was a really impactful experience for me. That when I decided, I was going to finish with the experience, and I relocated to South Africa, I went into a company it was very much a very different role, not an HR role related, but I could see that there was a need for HR. It was a company with like 20 years in business, with 50 destinations where they provided services, and was with like 500-600 employees at the time, and they didn't have HR. Just because they always run it like a family business that obviously needed HR. So that was my very first project, from not being, hired as someone in HR, to say, look, guys, you need HR. And I put a proposal forward, and we started doing HR. So I was very much thrown in the, like, do what you need to do, because there wasn't a department before. And it was a lovely experience, because there was so much to do and so much kind of, design what you think is necessary. And then after that, what happened was that I wanted to provide the service for small businesses, because I could tell, again, that there was this link with HR being just admin and legal. And you go like, but we're not really exploring what HR should be about, the talent retention side. And that's how I started providing the services. And it's just, going back to those days, it's just quite amazing. You set your mind into like, I want to help. I know that I can do this. And you just start speaking to people around what you want to do. And some people buy into your vision and kind of allow you to, like, okay, let's see what you have to say. And I'm so grateful for those people, because, you look back at the person that you were before you had the business, and you go like, I don't even know if I would have gone for my service back then.
Yeah, if I would have taken a chance on me.
Yeah, exactly. And funnily enough, I'm going through a similar experience now, because I'm intentional about expanding to different markets. So, you leave your comfort zone of like your network and the way you go about providing the service locally. And you have to now start speaking about, in different terms, or just trying to connect the needs of a place. And it's actually a very playful space to be for me, knowing that, you kind of, it's almost like leaving your identity behind and saying like, okay, now I can again create from scratch and sell, because what we're trying to sell is it's a new product, right? So there's that kind of like a lot of playfulness around how you start and what you want to do and things like that. So yeah.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. So this is the Business Owner Challenges series. So I have to always ask, what has been your biggest challenge while you have been building up your business?
Yeah, I mean, obviously many along the way, but I must say, the very first couple of years with my company, I actually started the company when I was pregnant with my first son. So you go through the journey of massive changes in your personal life, and at the same time, kind of creating another baby. So I was like pregnant with my baby, and then the business being a baby at the same time. So I always had in mind that my kids came first and the business second, right? So I feel like that was always a challenge to want to do more, but to know that you have a priority, and that that to me was a priority. So holding kind of back and managing that kind of growth, and as I said, HR is energy draining. So to know like, okay, it's taking too much of me, and so that balance. And then in the last couple of years, because of the age of my kids, I've been able to, like go for it. I have proper time to work. The kids are at school, and you can really see the difference of how much time you can put into it and what difference that makes. So I think that has been a big challenge to grow the business and at the same time grow a family.
Yes, yeah, that is, I think, obviously not a challenge for all business owners, but it definitely, it's a big one for a lot of female business owners, because we don't want to not be moms. And you're right, I don't have kids, so I'm always nervous to say to people that building a business is like raising a child, but it is like raising a child. I think obviously not quite the same physical effects maybe, but I've had just as many sleepless nights and worries and concerns and fallbacks and moments of thinking I'm a terrible parent. And I think there's a lot of similarities between those two things,
Yes.
so to be doing both at the same time is very challenging.
Yeah, I hear you. And when you go out there in the city, you network and you see how many of us are doing the same thing, and that's inspirational. But at the same time, it shows you that you're definitely not alone in that. But aside from that, if I were to think of another big challenge, it was definitely learning about the other areas of the business where you don't have expertise, and I think it's a personality trait of any entrepreneur that you put it on your load and your back to learn it from scratch. So when it comes to developing your marketing, developing your finance department and things like that, wrap your mind around when it's a need that you need to start considering, and how you start making it, shaping it, and making it, formalizing it, right? That can be a big challenge, because it's really up to you how much you want to explore and understand. And I'm someone that when something is in my mind, I'm just going for it, and I'm like full on understanding, trying to understand and make up my mind on. And sometimes you have this thing like, why didn't anybody tell me about this? Like, and then you go like, okay, no way. That's almost like, I wouldn't say a victim mindset, but like a mindset of like, people need to tell you. And it's like, no, this is my journey, and I'm discovering these needs because I'm having them. So yeah, you have to learn those things on your own, and then you have to find the right people, to offload it on, and make sure that you are kind of cushioning yourself and finding the right resources that you need.
Yeah, and that's also there's a challenge of balancing that as well, because I think it's very important as the business owner that you understand those aspects of business. You need to understand marketing to know whether when you hand it to a marketer, are they doing the right thing? You need to understand your finances so that you can read your financial statements and know that your accountant is actually doing things the right way. So you need to understand those things, but you've also got to get that balance between having enough knowledge to understand, and then letting go of things that are not your strength, and letting someone else do these things for you, like HR. It's yes, a business owner can do contracts. We can do client retention, I mean employee retention, and look after the welfare of our employees and help them upskill and progress in their careers, and all of these things. We can do those things, but if we're doing that, we're not doing something else. So we're not building the business in our skill sets, if that's what we're putting our time into. And yeah, it's challenging recognize when have I learned enough that I should actually be handing this over now.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not easy. And I find that because of having gone through that journey myself, what I do when I sell HR is that it's very much embedded in the way I go about selling, is that it's the educational part. So the way I understand my clients' needs, and I'll say, I can put it into context. Look, when this happens, you're probably going through this, and this is what's taking. And when you do that educational part, is I think where you can meet the minds and understand that, okay, this person gets me, and they know how to go about what they need to do to make sure the needs are covered. So that's interesting, because I learned that from my personal need, that's how I need to be pitched. So then that's what I do with my own services. And then at the same time, when you have to delegate, it's for example, that happened to me with marketing. Every business will have particular needs, right? And for me, I had to we gave it a good go with marketing strategy in an outsourced manner. And then it was really me that had to go back to those reports and numbers and see what's actually working. And for my business, how should I be going around this to make the best impact? Because that is something with SMEs. We can't just decide, okay, I'm going to do this initiative and we'll see how it goes. You need to make sure that what you're putting your money is going to get you returns, right? Because we're agile businesses, we're small businesses. And so I had a big insight in terms of also, speaking about challenges, that marketing is something that it's changing so much lately as to how you need to go about it. For example, your goals probably are to get clients through the door and be able to meet with clients, right? So that's more on the business development side. So if you're going to market, and again, if you're going to put a lot of your time on your website where it's nowhere where you're going to actually be selling, or people are going to be looking at what you do, it's going to be more on the social media side, then one needs to be so critical to say, actually, this is the way that I need to go about it, and just always be critical, right? To always, and I mean, I don't mean negative, but just to be like, okay, this is what we need to get out of this function, and am I getting what I need to get out of this? I love doing that, because it means that you really do have an agile business and you understand all the little components and parts of what makes it work.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I have a non-executive director in Farside, and it's his job to make sure we have a business. And he has to hold me accountable every now and then, because I love what we do. And every now and then he's like, yes, but I'm glad you love what you do, but are there results? Because if there aren't results, then what you have is a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what you want, that's fine. But if you want a business, you have to have outcomes. You have to have specific things that you go, yes, all right, we're achieving what we set out to achieve. Whether it's, it doesn't even have to be monetary. It can be, okay, we helped 10 businesses. That was what we wanted to do this month, and that's what we achieved. But you need to be tracking those things to know that you're actually getting any form of progress. Otherwise, you're really just playing. It might be fun, but you're not moving forward. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good to be constantly reviewing everything in your business.
Exactly, 100%. And I'm a solo founder, and I bounce ideas with people close to me to make sure that I'm on track. But I recently took on a business mentor, and it was the very first time that, even though she wasn't holding me accountable, I was like, look, you need to hold me accountable, and then I'll create the reporting and say, okay. And it was such a beautiful exercise, because exactly, it just puts that kind of like where you want to be, and the steps that you need to get there. And it makes so much sense for all those founders that need to bounce ideas, to get a mentor, someone that is, for me, I need to be able to see a little bit of myself in that person, right? It wouldn't be someone's too left-sided for me. And then know that, okay, that person will tell you exactly what is that they did, or just kind of give you examples of things that you can do to grow on your own journey. Yeah, so beautiful exercise.
I am very passionate about that, about the fact, because for me it was turning point in my business was in joining a mentoring group for accountants, you know, and it's and I'd been in business a long time, 10, 12
Long
years,
time.
you know, before I joined it, and yet it still revolutionized what I was doing, because it's amazing how mixing with other people who are doing the same thing or better or bigger or whatever that might be, and then having the courage to say, okay, what I'm doing is not working. Can you suggest something? And all those voices that speak to you, and you don't have to take everything you hear, but there's some really good advice out there from mentors and coaches, and also just other business owners who are willing to help you because they've been there. They know what it's like. They know how hard it is. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, very important. So, which would lead me to asking you, what piece of advice would you give an aspiring business owner right now? What is something that you wish you had known before you started?
I guess that when I started, and you know, being in that very kind of playful mindset of aspirational aspect of like, this is what I want to get to, and it's a beautiful place to be in, a very kind of, you know, like dreaming about what you want to do. And I think I had to, you know, to really get into a more of a reality mindset, that while yes, it's really beautiful and you have achieved a lot of those things that you saw in your dream, what was required to get there was a lot of hard work, a lot. And I think, you know, a lot of people say these things when you know, go to networking events, but I think it doesn't really hit you unless you are really doing it. Yeah. And I couldn't stress that enough. I once heard something that really stood with me. If you really want to do well, you need to work harder than anybody else in the room. And that's the reality for founders and entrepreneurs, that you really need to work really long hours and to take that very seriously, that every client that you have, how you retain them, how you are, you know, in that same symphony with them of what they, how they perceive your product, it is so important. So yeah, I think that my advice would have been that I would have probably done it the same way if I were to somehow have known what it took, but you would have just probably framed it differently, right? Because I feel like when you start, maybe those long term, for some reason, don't feel that long. So you probably think, you know, in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, and it's actually in 10 years. So I think that, you know, there's something with the mind that you can plan for 1 year, and then you think of the 10-year mark, but you in reality don't know what 10 years mean. Because probably, I mean, by the time you're 20, you only went twice through the 10-year experience. Yeah. So you're still to learn how time passes and how much you need to be accountable and achieve your goals in 10 years to say, okay, cool, actually build something really nice. So I think that's yeah, really nice to have that opportunity to have said that to myself when I started.
Yeah, and it's I think you're right. It's people, because a large problem that faces the entrepreneurial world is people who give business advice are normally people who have been successful in business, because that's why you listen to them. You look at them and you think, okay, they've achieved what I would like to achieve, so I'm going to listen to these people. But we're looking at them at the end of that building journey. We're looking at them when they are successful. So yes, maybe they're working a four-day work week. You know, maybe they get to go home early in the day or something like that. That's because they spent the 8, 10, 15 years building the business that supports that lifestyle. They didn't get to do that right from day one. You know, in day one, you're working hard and long hours, and it takes so much that you don't expect, because my experience, especially small business owners, and I did this myself. We start a business because we're good at something. You know, you were good at HR and I was good at accounting. And I thought, all right, let's open a business. But running a business is its own entire skill set. You need to learn a whole bunch more to fulfill that role, in addition to now doing the work that you're actually good at. And it's hard. It's not easy to do. And yeah, I think it would help a lot of young entrepreneurs to know that they're in for a long road before they get to that picture in their heads. And not to say they won't achieve it, but it's a long road. It's not quick and easy.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think you made a good point there, that while you have to be much more realistic, still you can still achieve it. And as I said, now I'm putting myself in a position where I need to go back to that kind of like mindset of setting something new. And there's something really magical about that stage. The fact that I need to create a whole new network because, you know, it's a different market. And you go like, nobody knows me and I have to start from scratch. But then you see that you have it with you because you kind of already been through it and you're more confident that you're going to get there, that yes, you still, you know, need to do a lot of things. So there's still that hope. And I think that if you have something that you really want to achieve, and that would be like the mission of the company, right? Then that definitely fuels you through those times.
No, definitely. I you know, in the business builder we talk about 4 pillars, and the first one is purpose. And I say it's so important to build that pillar first because you need that thing that drives you. You need to have that vision. You need to know why you're doing this, because those hard times, you have to realize that they're just stepping stones and there is a bigger picture and it is going to get better and you can achieve the dream, but you're not going to if you give up. So you have to have something that holds you there.
Yes, 100%. In the beginning, you can ask my husband how many times I said, I'm giving up. I'm really giving up. And I honestly cannot. It was probably once a week that I would say that for the first 4 years of the business. And something just kept on, you know, like, okay, fine, I'll continue doing that. I think there's 2 things there. Once, when the clients appreciate your work and they tell you, thank you, like I couldn't have done it without you, or things like that. That to me is like, they said it once and I have energy for, you know, a full year of work. It's really amazing, that energy. And then the other thing with purpose is that what I recently realized is that you find it for yourself and for your company, but it's amazing how much of a magnet you are when you found that purpose. How much other people go like, this is actually really cool, I want to be part of this. And that to me was like, this is actually really cool. It's really how you get to a next level in your business, that people want to be part of it because of how much of a cool thing you kind of cracked, right? What a great solution you're providing that is different from others, and things like that.
Yeah, so true. It's very true. And if you're very passionate about what you're doing and you speak about it a lot, you tend to attract people with your values, which you know helps you build a better team. So it's
exactly, yeah. And that's interesting for founders and entrepreneurs and people just starting, that you do really need to speak up and speak out, or just reach out to people. And that in this day and age is easy because you have digital platforms to do that, or you just, you know, go to events, and it affirms what you want to do, and you can shape it better with, you know, people's feedback. But also is this thing around you are kind of putting out there what your purpose is, and then people are going to jump on the bus with you. And so that's quite a, you know, a nice thing to do, to put yourself out there and say what is that you want to do.
yeah, and mix with people. I think that was something I learned as well. I'm quite an introvert, so I used to avoid networking events, and weirdly, I love them online. Works for me as an introvert. It just works for me. But the in-person ones I used to avoid, and I remember someone once said, you know, if you want to grow your business, you need to be speaking to people. Bottom line, if you're not
Yes.
speaking to people, you're not finding clients, you're not finding suppliers, you're not finding team members. So what
Yes.
you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. You have to be speaking to people.
Yeah.
And yes, for
Yeah.
me, online works brilliantly. For some people, it's in person. But whatever you are or how you work, you need to be speaking to people.
Yeah, so true. Very true. And I'm finding myself these days, I usually most of the speaking that I do is because I'm selling the product, because people come to me with needs. But now wanting to establish a new product, I'm again doing that talking myself, right? Trying to connect with people and get out there and say, look, I have this, and I've been feeling so warm inside from these people, because time is a commodity, right? Like if you want to ask time of people, it really feels like you need to give value, right? And I've been connecting with people that are just listening and just saying yes, and you should connect with this person, and I love what you're saying, and maybe think of this. And you go like, wow, you really do have something very powerful when you just connect with people and talk.
Yeah. And you meet some amazing people. I've met some really amazing people through networking events where I just say, would you like to do a one-to-one? And you chat, and yes, maybe it didn't end up in a client, but I'm so happy for having met those people because they've enriched my life somehow. Either they've
Yeah.
inspired me, or their story is just amazing, or they're just fascinating and they make you think differently. So I think networking and mixing with other people is very important.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Like this. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Yes, it was so lovely. I mean, it's always nice to have the time to reflect on some of these things, and makes you think of your trajectory and where you want to go and things like that. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure. I love chatting to you. Anyone who's watching, if they go, oh yes, I need help with HR, or they just want to have a one-to-one with you because they think you're interesting, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
I'm very active on LinkedIn these days. So Rose Elcock, they will find me there on LinkedIn. Otherwise, our company website, vhrs.co.za, and yeah, can just contact me there. And I'd love to reach out and speak about HR, speak about interesting journeys of people. Happy to open for everything.
Awesome. I will put the links under this video. So anyone who is looking to connect with Rose, you can do so very easily by clicking on the links underneath this. And Rose, thank you again for joining me. I really have enjoyed our chat very much.
Thank you so much, Tamryn. Bye.
Bye.